Hello and welcome to the Scatterable channel, and today we're going to be covering the best CPU, motherboard, and RAM deals you can take advantage of this Black Friday. If you're looking for a graphics card version of this video, I literally posted that yesterday. Check that out. There I show you the best Black Friday deals for graphics cards. But if you're someone who already has the graphics card you want and you're looking to upgrade the platform in your gaming PC to something new, or say you want to update what you already have to a newer CPU that is faster on the same socket, then don't worry, I've got you covered for both scenarios. We're going to be covering a bunch of different AMD and Intel CPUs along with their respective motherboards and compatible RAM kits so you can get the best deals this Black Friday. And Cyber Monday, screw it. I'll keep the description of this video updated from now until this Monday. So look at that description if you want to find the best deals, once again, on anything I'll be covering throughout this video. Now, real quick, before we get started, I just want to mention you're welcome to sit through this entire video and watch me explain each of these CPUs, motherboard, and RAM choices, or you can just head on over to pcbuilds.gg, which already has the best CPUs, motherboards, and RAM kit deals that I have found on that website, along with a complete PC build list at different budgets. Whether you're looking for a budget PC build or an expensive PC build, if you want to make the most bang for your buck for a complete custom gaming PC, do check out that website. It's already got all these deals loaded into it. Otherwise, you're welcome to sit through and listen to what I have to say for each of these products. So we'll get started right after a word from our sponsor. If you're looking for a high quality, comfortable chair this holiday season, then look no further than Hbada's E3 Ergonomic office chair. I got sent this chair from my office, and despite how grandiose it looks, assembling it actually wasn't that bad. Now remember, this isn't a boring gaming chair. This is a very adjustable ergonomic chair that you can tailor towards your needs, thanks to Hbada's T-shaped linkage support system for support for your shoulders, your neck, and your waist. This is achieved thanks to the 3-zone floating wing lumbar support for your waist found at the bottom of the chair. For your neck, it has a 4D double access neck pillow, which offers really great range and adjustability for your head to rest on, and also some 6D mechanical armrests that not only can swivel left to right, raise up and down, but you can even change the pitch of the actual armrests. Not to mention, there's even a little bit more adjustability. You can move forward the seat forwards and backwards by about 30 millimeters, and even lift the chair up or down by about 80 millimeters. Now, if you want to stay in an upright, strict position, this chair can lock in at a fixed angle for work, but if you want to lounge and relax, you can unlock that and lounge away at the chair with some really nice adjustability. So overall, the Hbada E3's T-shaped support system solves the 3 pain problems caused by most chairs by offering a 3-zone floating wing lumbar support, 4D double access neck pillow, and 6D mechanical armrests for even greater flexibility and comfort. So if you want to learn more about the Hbada E3, I'll have a link to it in the description below along with more information. So if I had to guess, a lot of you who clicked on this video are looking to upgrade to an AM5 platform with a Ryzen 7000 or 9000 CPU, along with DDR5 memory and a compatible B650, X670, or even X870 motherboard. Or you could be someone who's maybe on a last generation AMD system that uses AM4, but you're ready to upgrade from that really slow Ryzen 3200G or 2600, and you're ready to go all out with a new X3D CPU or multi-core Ryzen 5000 CPU. Well, for one of those people, I'm definitely gonna keep you covered, but I gotta pay my dues, which I've none, but I wanna cover Intel deals first, because honestly, these Intel deals are going harder than AMD at the moment, and that would make sense because they're making room for their new Ultra series processors. But seriously, check this out. If we hop on over to Newegg, the first CPU that stuck out at me at it like a sore thumb would have to be the Intel Core i3 13600KF here for $175. Okay, so this is better than the 14600KF deal that I showed off in my video yesterday on Newegg. This is already better than that. These essentially have the same performance, but there is a $25 difference. Now, this is for the person who may already have an old like i3 13100 or 12100, or even an i5 12400, and you're looking for a modest CPU upgrade without overspending a ton. And if that's you, i5 13600K. I really do not need to say any more other than if you want to hear why I recommend this CPU despite it being Intel, go ahead and watch my tier list video where I rank a bunch of CPUs and found that the i5 13600KF was easily one of the best from Intel. And no, this one is not going to be suspect to any sort of chip degradation because one, it's an i5, it's not an i7 or an i9, and two, thanks to the latest microcode updates from Intel, those CPUs won't really be suspect to those degradation changes as much, or if any at all. Now I know Intel is showing off some flashy i9 12900K and i9 13900K deals, but like I've said in the past, those i9 CPUs, these ones are just way too overkill for gaming. The most you'd want to consider for an Intel CPU for gaming is an i7. These i9s are reserved for people who are content creation professionals who need their integrated graphics for video editing, people who use CPU-based rendering applications, people who use virtual machines and are running like a ton of things at once. That's what these i9s are useful for. They are not useful for gamers. Don't look at these i9 deals. The farthest I would go for that case for you gamers on the Intel platform would have to be the i7 14700KF. This is kind of like an i9 14900K, I think, in disguise. Because if you look at the specs, this has 20 cores, 8 P cores, and 12 E cores. Okay, never mind. There is definitely a core difference, but really, the reason why I have a bit of a soft spot for the 14700KF as a high-end Intel gaming CPU is because the 13700K here, it's got 16 cores, 8 P cores, and 8 E cores, and 24 threads, whereas the 14700K goes just a little bit better than that, 8 P cores and 12 E cores. But it's not going to be as insanely power hungry as an i9, and nor is it going to produce as much heat. And if you look at benchmarks, this is, I mean, if you look at it, the 14700KF is like basically right there with the 14900KF in gaming, just about $100 off. And right now on Newegg, this is the best price I've found for this CPU because with this $33 off promo code, this comes out to about $315, whereas on Amazon, it's $330 or about, yeah, you can get the 13700K and also be very well off. As a matter of fact, that's the 13700K. The KF, okay, the 13700K is cheaper, but either of those CPUs, including that 13600KF, is what I go for if you're already on the Intel platform and you're looking to upgrade. But now let's talk motherboards, and you've got two options. You can either go with a B760 motherboard or a higher end Z790 motherboard. And to be frank, this MSI B760 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi deal on Amazon is one of the best B760 motherboards I've come across. I haven't found this same deal on Newegg, it's just exclusive to Amazon, but if you don't care about overclocking, grab this. And to be frank, with any of these high-end K-series Intel CPUs, you don't need to overclock them. They already turbo boost up to insanely high speeds. If anything, like Intel's the one CPU brand you don't really want to overclock right now. They're already clocked and pushed pretty hard stock, as we've seen with those Intel chip degradations from earlier in the summer, which once again, don't have to worry about it if you're getting an i5 or even an i7. That's an i9 issue more specifically. Some of these lower end B760 motherboards from ASRock and MSI may seem like good prices, but you gotta keep in mind that these don't come with any Wi-Fi for the ASRock motherboard, and in the case of the MSI one, it is limited to DDR4. I want you to stay on DDR5, and the same applies to this Gigabyte deal. It may be a Black Friday deal, but it's DDR4, and we want DDR5. So this MSI Gaming Plus Wi-Fi here from MSI, probably the best B760 motherboard deal I've come across so far. But if you wanted to get a higher end Z790 motherboard, one that maybe could have some faster RAM, then there are a few options. Some of these Black Friday deals you may see on Amazon are okay. I've looked through them all. They're all right, but the one I want to point you guys at is on Newegg. Here we have the MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk with a $40 off promo code, which brings this to $170. And you know, if it's a Tomahawk motherboard, it's a solid motherboard. And compared versus these deals here on Amazon, the Aorus Elite AX is in that same tier, but it's $20 more. Same for the TUF, same for this other MSI motherboard. This Tomahawk deal on Newegg is the best I have found. So if you wanted something even beefier than that B760 motherboard I showed you earlier, and you want to get something that could have even faster DDR5 memory paired with it, then this is it. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to cover all DDR5 RAM kits at the end of this video, because we're just going to go go through all the CPUs and motherboards first and then conclude all of them with my memory recommendations. Now, because I'm just curious, it looks like Intel isn't hosting any discounts for their Core Ultra series CPUs, so I'm unfortunately going to have to exclude them because it looks like there's no discounts, not on Newegg, not really on Amazon. Is there any hope? Nope, none on Best Buy. And I assume the same goes for their motherboards. So with that, now let's move on to AMD. So first I want to go ahead and cover AM4 because I know a lot of you are still on this last generation AMD socket and plenty of you are like still using those old Ryzen 3 or Ryzen 5 processors and you're ready to upgrade to something that's a lot faster. That way you don't have to go ahead and buy a whole new platform with AM5 or Intel. You can just stick it to AM4 and have a faster CPU. Therefore you can pair up a faster GPU like the ones that I showed in my previous Black Friday GPU deals video. Okay, and the one that really stood out to me is actually not this 5700X on Newegg. If you go over here to Amazon, you can find it for even less. Here you can get the AMD Ryzen 7 5700X for $130. This CPU ranked really well in my tier list because it may be 8 cores, and you could argue that the 5600X could be a better deal, but the 5700X is on just way too good of a discount right now. And there is a performance difference between the 6-core version of this CPU and this 8-core 5700X. It is worth spending up to get these 8 cores. And if you're still on a 4-core CPU on the AM4 socket, boy, this is it. This is a very excellent deal for the 5700X. But there's an elephant in the room because yeah, that 5700X is nice. But if you really want a sizable increase in performance while staying on the AM4 socket, there's only one CPU choice left for you, and that is the 5700 X3D. You may be asking, is it worth spending the extra $70 to get this CPU with 3D cache over the regular 5700X? In my opinion, I'm gonna say yes. That 3D cache that contains 96 megabytes of onboard L3 cache on the CPU has really extended the viability of the 5800 X3D, especially in those benchmarks, even when you compare it to CPUs that just came out. The 5800 X3D can still go toe-to-toe with Intel's newest Intel Core CPUs. And I expect the same for the 5700 X3D, just a little bit slower. And who knows, come the day of Black Friday, which would be tomorrow, this CPU could be even cheaper. I mean, yeah, the 5700X, that's an option if you don't have $200 to spend, but if you do, absolutely consider this. And I find it really cool that the best CPU you can get for the AM4 socket right now, realistically, doesn't cost more than $200. And you can pair this up with any graphics card you want, other than the next generation 5090, 5080, whatever, because at 1080p, that's gonna bottleneck those for sure, and maybe even at 1440p. But this is it. This is it for an AM4 CPU upgrade. Now, as far as what motherboards to pair up with those, I understand that I just said that these are CPU upgrades, assuming that you already have a motherboard with your CPU already on it, but I would like to give a shout out to one deal. If for any reason you needed an AM4 motherboard in this year of 2024, MSI is selling their Mag Tomahawk B550 ATX with Wi-Fi? Oh my God, there's no Wi-Fi, but it's $110. I mean, pair up a cheap Wi-Fi card with this. It's an ATX sized motherboard, so you can throw in a Wi-Fi card at that very bottom PCI Express slot. And dude, this thing is rock solid. I rate Tomahawk motherboards very highly because they're well built. They have excellent onboard VRMs, they have excellent temperatures, and they've always been good. Tomahawk motherboards have always been good. And this at $110 is just ridiculous. That's all I gotta say. But now let's move on to the main event, AM5. A lot of you who clicked on this video are going to be the kind of people who are looking to, once and for all, upgrade your platform to the new AM5 socket or build a new PC with this CPU platform. And there's a good chunk of them that are on discount, but a few of them are mild deals, but a few of these are fairly good deals. But one thing to keep in mind, a lot of these CPUs I'm gonna be talking about are going to be benchmarked against the 7500F. This is definitely the best value CPU, technically under $200. And yes, it is on the AM5 socket. It may also technically be one of the slowest, but even that is a bit of a stretch. Because what I'm seeing a lot of you recommend is the 8400F and the 8700F, and there's something you gotta know first. These CPUs have reduced L3 cache. They may have the same core count as like a 7500F or a 7700, but they've reduced L3 cache. That's because they're 8000 series CPUs. They're derived, let me pull it out. They're derived from Ryzen's 8000 APUs that come with onboard Radeon graphics. It's a little bit hard to tell, but it says onboard Radeon graphics. And I assume to make room for that onboard iGPU, they have to reduce the amount of L3 cache. And that does have a performance impact with a dedicated graphics card. And there's this awesome video that Ancient Gameplays just put up comparing the 8400F to the 7500F. And heck, actually, Tech Yes City also made his own version of that video comparing the 8400F to the 7500F. And to make it short, the conclusions of both of those videos concluded that even the 7500F still is faster than those 8000 CPUs, even if they're the same price. So I'm not going to be recommending the 8500F or 8700F. They have reduced L3 cache, reduced gaming performance. Do not even bother with them, even if they're listed as Black Friday deals. Do not get them. Here is what you should get instead if you didn't want a 7500F per se. You can snag the Ryzen 5 7600X for $187. That is the cheapest I have ever seen a 7600X. Let me make sure of one thing. Is that the same on Newegg? Oh, it's cheaper on Amazon. It is indeed cheaper. And is this seller legitimate? Yes, it is. It's selling from Amazon.com. Okay, this is the first red hot deal I want to cover first. 7600X is a boosted 7500F, which most of the time I wouldn't give too much weight to, but this being really discounted below $200 by about 15 bucks definitely is on my radar. And at this price point, I wouldn't be concerned if it has only 6 cores and 12 threads. That's still plenty for gaming nowadays. I would only get more if you're going to be doing any multimedia or CPU workload-based applications on your gaming PC, which isn't necessarily for everyone, but this at $187 is very good, and pair it up with an affordable aftermarket CPU cooler like this one you see here on screen, and you are set. Now, although that 7700X deal is very good, if you were insistent on getting the 9600X, which is technically a faster CPU by some regards, it is the cheapest right now on Newegg. You can get this for $240 with a $10 off promo code. Just keep in mind, you will need a motherboard that either has onboard Q-Flash capabilities, so you can flash a newer BIOS onto the motherboard if you're using a B650 or X670 motherboard, so you can have that motherboard already BIOS updated before you throw in the 9600X, or you can just get an X870 motherboard and not have to worry about that. But those are actually on some discounts right now, which I will be showing later on. But this is also an option if you wanted the 9600X and you wanted that updated Zen 5 architecture, because there are some games where it definitely benefits, but there's also a lot of games where there's not that much of a difference. Now, the next one that's on my radar that isn't like crazy right now, but I gotta point out, is the 7700X. This is a much better buy than the 9700X, because this with the $10 off promo code on Newegg is gonna be about $260. That is the lowest I have ever seen a 7700X, but I think if you wait one day, check back on this video, check back in the links, and this thing could be $250 or below on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. But this is also a very good CPU deal, and certainly one to look at if you're looking at specifically building a gaming PC with a Ryzen 7000 CPU. Now, after this, the deals kind of fall off, in my opinion, for gaming CPUs, because these 12 core and 16 core CPUs from AMD don't necessarily add any additional performance over their 8 and 6 core variants, despite costing way more. So these are only really reserved, again, for people who know they're going to be doing CPU-based workload applications on top of gaming. But once again, that isn't for everyone. 8 cores really is what the majority of you who are watching this video will ever need for a gaming and workstation PC, unless you're a professional and you're making a living off of something that uses your PC. And unfortunately, my prediction that the 7800 X3D would return back to like a cheap price has not come to fruition. It is still like $500. Even the 7900 X3D I think is hopeless. Yeah, it's about 500 bucks. Yep, that's also on Amazon. And I'm not even gonna bother checking the 7950 X3D. If you want an X3D CPU, your only option is going to have to be yet again the 9800 X3D. It is worth waiting for this CPU if you are looking to get your hands on it. I just said that X3D V-Cache I think is worth spending the premium towards, because unlike a graphics card, a CPU is something that you plan to keep for longer than a graphics card. So you might as well invest a little bit more into something that will last longer. And this 9800 X3D is the only one you can get right now, but it's out of stock because it's really that good. It is the best gaming CPU on the market. So unfortunately, I think we can call this Black Friday sale the sale where you can get a lot of AM5 CPUs that aren't X3D CPUs. And don't get me wrong, that 7600X deal, that 7700X deal, and even that 9600X deal are worth looking at. On top of one more. If you were insistent on building an APU-based gaming PC with no dedicated graphics card, you just wanted to rely on integrated graphics, the 8600G is at a suspiciously good price. $160 for this with its onboard graphics is actually a good deal. Now, yeah, this is going to be slower than a 7500F and a 7600X, but if you are already looking at getting an APU, I assume you know what you're doing. You're going to get something with onboard graphics that's going to hold you over for a little bit, although personally, I'd go all out for buying a graphics card right now because this is the best time of the year to get one. But if you're building a really small form factor PC that can't fit in a graphics card, this is a very nice deal for an 8600G, and I will have this linked in the description below. The bigger question is, does the same apply for the 8700G? That's not too bad either, because this, yeah, it was about $330 and now it's $255. Okay. Both G Series 8000 CPUs are worth looking into if you want something with onboard graphics. But now to close out the video, let's look at motherboard deals. And let's see, what do we have? I think the B650 motherboard deal that stood out most to me was this Gigabyte B650 Aorus Elite AX. I have never seen this motherboard go below $200, and it's at $175 right now. This ranked as, I think, an S or A tier motherboard in my B650 motherboard tier list. It's basically a Tomahawk motherboard, just with the Gigabyte logo slapped onto it, and as of filming this video, this is a better deal than the Tomahawk right now, because if we check, the Tomahawk is $180, so the Gigabyte has it beat by $5, and their capabilities are the exact same, although I like the Aorus board a bit more in terms of looks. And look at those heat shields that you get for these additional M.2 SSDs. This is going to be a cool motherboard. Now, as for Newegg, I mean, it's mostly good. You can get the B650 Gaming Plus for about $150. That's all right. If you wanted an Asus Strix series motherboard and you insisted on getting one of those, which I think they're a bit of a not so great value, you can get this ROG Strix B650A now for actually a good price with this $20 off promo code. It's going to put it at about $190, which is about how much this motherboard, well, it's about $10 cheaper than what I price this motherboard regularly, but it's got 12+2 power stages. That's still pretty decent. So if you wanted an Asus motherboard that's a Strix series for the B650 socket, this one on Newegg is worth looking at. Oh, but there's one more. There's one more really good deal I got to show you guys. All right, you can get one of the best budget B650 motherboards for the AM5 socket, the ASRock B650M HDV for $100. Chef's kiss, perfect deal for a budget B650 motherboard that is micro ATX. This motherboard has really good VRMs for its price, 8+2+1, and you got a thick heatsink over those VRMs. And don't be dissuaded by the 2-slot DDR5 RAM configuration on this motherboard. This can hold up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. Are you really gonna need more than that? No. This for $100, and you throw on an M.2 Wi-Fi card if you look at the bottom left of that motherboard for about 20 or 15 bucks, and best budget B650 motherboard I have found all day. Now, as for X670 motherboards, there are some deals that I see right now I do want to cover. This X670 Aorus Elite AX is one I definitely look at for $190. That seems really good. And this MSI X670E Gaming Plus for $200 also seems really good. It looks like it's the cheapest X670E chipset motherboard I have found at $200, because this one is about, yeah, $220. Yeah, okay. This one from MSI, I'll have that one linked as well. I'm not too crazy about these motherboards though, because they are about the same price of discounted X870 motherboards right now, which from what I can tell, can have faster memory. First of all, this MSI X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi for about $280. No, wait, no. Yeah, it's cheaper on Newegg because you're given a $10 rebate card at $270. I've held this motherboard before in my hands and it's a beast. And it's also got a really convenient latch system right here for your graphics card. There's a button that you can see to the right of the RAM sticks. Press on that and that's gonna let you unlatch and latch in your graphics card pretty easily. It's a cool looking motherboard. And again, it's a Tomahawk motherboard, excellent VRMs, excellent heat sinks. It's a solid board. But it looks like a lot of these X870 deals are mostly on Newegg. I don't really see them on Amazon right now because there's one other motherboard deal that caught my attention, and it's this other one from MSI, the MSI Pro X870P Wi-Fi. With the $20 off promo code and a $10 rebate card, this is gonna cost you about $210. That's also really good. If you want a silver looking motherboard that can tie in with a white looking gaming PC build that isn't super expensive, I'd look at this. And being X870, this is gonna be able to support faster memory than an X670 motherboard, so that's even more performance for you. And any of these will be excellent for any of the aforementioned Ryzen CPUs I've talked about so far. And now to finish things out, what about my favorite DDR5 RAM kits? Well, I could go through all of them right now, but honestly, I'll just have them all linked in the description below, and I'll have them for what kind of motherboard you should pair it up with. Obviously, 6400 megahertz, like this G-Skill Trident Z5 kit right here, is the fastest I would go with a 600 series motherboard or Intel motherboard on the AM5 socket and the LGA 1700 socket. That's about the fastest I would go. But if you're looking at any of those X870 motherboards that I just mentioned that can have faster memory, then that's where I can look into DDR5 7000 megahertz kit RAM kits. For example, and I know this is an extreme example, it may not be guaranteed to work with every X870 motherboard, but here's this 8200 megahertz cast latency 38 kit from V-Color that's using SK Hynix ICs. That's good. For $190, I mean, if you want an ultimate performance out of your RAM kit, there you have this. But once again, whatever I've linked in the description, it's just gonna be a lot of different RAM kits that'll work with different motherboards that I list in the description. But the one I'm mostly gonna point at is gonna be this Team Group T-Create kit. This at $82 with this $3 off promo code is all you need. 6000 megahertz with a cast latency of 30 that comes in either black or white at $82 is muy bueno. And there you have it. That's all my deals I want to cover for CPUs, motherboards, and RAM kits. If you want to check any of these deals out, once again, they're in the description below, along with my website, pcbuilds.gg. So with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the Skydevolts channel, signing out.